Hey, welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, a place where you get the straightforward, no nonsense, no holds barred ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. The Bald Truth is brought to you by the Peak Performance Group. I'm your host, Coach Rick Colster, certified executive business coach and chief coaching officer for the Peak Performance Group, where we help people and organizations align and maximize their potential. Well, today we shift gears a bit. And we're going to jump into the world of sports and faith. Sometimes they intersect and sometimes they don't. Our guest today is a former NCAA and NFL standout player. He did play for my favorite coach of all time, Bill Parcells, twice, both as a New York Jet and a Dallas Cowboy. And he was also one of the few players to ever be drafted twice. There's a lot of twos going on here, Brian. He then made the shift, moved off the field and into the broadcast booth as an analyst. Today, after going back to school at King's University, he's used his life experiences and his heart for ministry, his heart for people, and as a pastor and a character coach. Welcome, my friend Ryan Young, to the Bald Truth. Ryan, welcome to the Bald Tooth, brother.
Man, Coach Rick, thanks for having me in. I'm excited to be here with y'all today.
It's a pleasure to have you, man. I mean, let's see, where do we start? Where we met? I mean, we met. Gosh, it was years ago. I don't know if you remember. I remember well.
Right. Well, recently I know how we reconnected, but where we met years ago, man, I do not remember. So I know
we were sitting in a restaurant, and you and your beautiful wife were at a restaurant. I was with my wife, and you said something about coach this. I said, I'm a coach. You said, I'm a coach. I said, that's really great, man. Hey, we should get together. And that's it. I mean, it was just the ability to open up and talk and not be afraid to get knocked down or turned down. It's kind of like asking at the prom or the homecoming queen to the prom.
That's right.
If you don't ask, you never get a yes. If you don't go up to somebody and say, hi, how are you? You look like a cool guy. I'd like to know you. We never have met. We may never have met.
Yeah. I've had a lot of awesome no's in my life that, man, have helped develop who I am today. So, man, I love the no's, man. Got to love those no's.
It absolutely does. But I think it's the opportunity to get out of your own comfort zone and ask the question and ask that, and I say, ask for that business, ask for that promotion, ask that girl out, a pretty girl out, whatever it might be. Is don't be afraid to get a no. But I think a lot of us are afraid to get no's.
Yeah, man, we take no's personally. And a lot of times I've learned over the years that no's aren't necessarily always about us. Now, sometimes they are, right? You try out, especially in sports, you try out for a team and there's a hard no because you don't meet the expectations or the needs of that team. But man, a lot of no's are not necessarily about us. And it's always about something else or what's best for the organization. So I've learned not to take those no's personal.
And getting to know that, and I've been a sales manager running sales teams. That's my original career. And what I found was sometimes the no, again, like you said, isn't about you. It's more about what's going on in someone else's life.
That's right.
That guy who doesn't call you back. Today's a new term is ghosting. Yeah. I mean, you've probably been ghosted from people. I have been.
All the time. Yeah.
What's going on here? I'm calling them. It's not about you. And you go, did I do something wrong here? Or what is going on? No, it's really what's going on in their lives and how can we touch their lives?
Yeah, no doubt, man. And when I say personal, I know that sometimes we, from a personal standpoint, might not relationally meet the needs of other people or something about us may not jive with a person or organization, but to not take it personal, like not take it at the heart level, like I'm defective or there's something wrong with me that, brought about that no, because, they can be discouraging, man, but I love the no's because then it forces me to reevaluate who I am and how I communicate within the context of what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, I love the no's, man. They're good for me. They've been good for me.
And I think that's the cool part is, and I think about it and I'll jump back and talk about your sports career start early with you, as I want the folks to really hear about what you did. I mean, you're a big guy. I mean, Ryan. So for those that are listening, Ryan's a big guy. I'm big, but he's a really big guy. I mean, he's 6'7", I think.
Yeah, about 6'6", yeah,
Yeah.
almost 6'7", yeah, close to it.
And so at 6'3.5", I look up, I go, wow.
Yeah.
So naturally in the sports world, when you're playing ball growing up in high school, college, the NFL, you had to get some no's when you didn't get that starting spot that first time. How do you
Yeah,
handle
man.
that?
Yeah. So, again, you talk about sports and faith, and I'm all about intersections in life. How do worlds collide, and we can talk about, all the different intersections that I've run into within the context of my work in ministry. But in life, understanding that, like you said, I'm a big guy, right? I was created this way. I mean, I have huge bone structure. If you look at me, I am the prototypical NFL offensive tackle, body wise. I
Yeah.
didn't do anything to achieve this, right? This is the way that I was created. And so naturally, I just stepped into this idea that, when you're big in my size, it doesn't mean you have to. But man, naturally, I gravitated towards, football. And when I gravitated towards football, they didn't look at me and say, hey, this kid might be a receiver or, quarterback. No, they said he's an offensive or defensive lineman. And so, I'm pushed in that direction. And if I wanted to play other positions, there probably would have been some no's, but I was faithful to trusting, the guys who were over my early career in high school. Didn't play until I was a freshman in high school, but man, just in the process of pursuing the path and the natural direction in which I felt myself going, there were a lot of yeses that I had to make, but in the process, as you said, there were a lot of no's as well.
Yeah, that's right. Just as a parallel, and we talked
Yeah,
about parallels earlier, some of the things we have some parallels in our lives. I was also an offensive lineman, a right
yeah,
tackle. They put me at right
yeah,
tackle in high school, in my beginning of my college career. Now,
yeah.
I wasn't any good,
Right.
but that's where they put me, I guess. That's where I could
Yeah,
do the least damage
yeah,
until they moved me to center. Then I actually figured out the line calls.
yeah,
But you're absolutely right. Tall, lean, big guys, that's the prototypical. That's good. You get
yeah.
that. Yes. Although I wanted to be a tight end.
Mm,
I was a basketball player
yeah,
by
yeah,
nature. I played
yeah,
basketball my whole life. I was always the tallest guy around in my where I grew up. And I had big hands. I said, I'll be a tight end. That
yeah.
would fit that more prototype. Nah, because my best friend was a tight end and he went on to play D1 ball at Navy. So it's like, I guess I'm the tackle next to my buddy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys like you, guys that came in playing tight end in high school or defensive end. They throw 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds on some of these guys. And so it's a no to tight end. They get promised to play tight end D1.
Yeah.
Eventually, they'll end up, saying yes to offensive line. And man, a lot of those guys, again, that no led to a yes that led them into NFL careers post college play. And
You're
it's
absolutely
amazing,
right.
you know?
And that's so how do we take those no's? And this is from a leadership perspective, and I mean, that's got to be a test of your character. I want to talk about you because you're a character expert
Mhm.
with some of your ministry, some of your work you've been doing, is you're an expert in character. And
Mhm.
so how can a leader take a no and ingrain that in what are the characteristics that he needs or she needs to not take those so personally? What can they do? How
Yeah.
do you coach
So
that?
I think we have to evaluate the source of the no, right? And so if it's a coach in my life, or if it's a CEO or an oversight in our lives, a boss that says a no, um, can we trust the source of that no? And so I'm all about evaluating leadership and leading up. And so there's just a few things. Does the source of that no reflect the values and the mission of the organization as you know it and you were invited in to contribute to, right? Is there still this directional pursuit of that mission and vision that you believe the organization was after? Is the source of that no abusive to you from a leadership standpoint? Is that person abusing his or her power? And so just really evaluating the source of the no. And at some point, man, we all have to trust leaders in our lives. And you talked about Bill Parcells being one of your favorite coaches. Behind Bill Snyder at Kansas State, he would be like my 1A or definitely my number 2 favorite coach and leader of all time. And it goes a lot deeper than him just being a good football coach.
Yeah. And that's okay. So let's jump in and dive into character. You're a character guy. That's where your focus is. And that's where we met. You have, I coach character. And that's one of the things I think we resonated with was how do we build people of character, whether it's in faith, whether it's in business, whether it's in sports.
Yeah.
What can we do individually? Just anyone who might be listening, what could we do to help expand, help someone in their character growth?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I found the best leaders that I've been around bring out the very best in those that they lead, and not being afraid that, hey, one day this leader might surpass me. And a great example, let's keep it at home with Bill Parcells. You know, you look at his coaching tree, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is easily, from a win statistic, right? He is a better coach than Bill Parcells. Now, implementation and engagement in the physical, you know, that's left to the perception of the athletes that they coach. But we would say that Bill Parcells groomed Bill Belichick, right? And now Bill Belichick has exceeded the leader. And so, you know, me as a leader, I love empowering people around me, even if that means that they are better than me and they exceed, you know, my level of success. I have to be comfortable with that because, again, here comes that intersection, right? I want to see people be the fullness of who God created them to be, because then I understand if they're the fullness and functioning in the fullness of their identity, right, and their God-given gifts and talents, man, it spills over into every aspect of their lives. And when their lives, their families, their communities are better, man, our world is better, right? And so as a leader, I'm empowering and bettering our world through the empowerment of the people God's given me to steward in my leadership.
And that's, with that, we talk about the power of prayer. And that's one thing that jumped into my head as we're sitting here is the power of prayer is amazing when we talk about things we want to get done, whether it's business, whether it's sports, or whether it's your home life, friends, whatever you're doing. I think the power of prayer. So I believe we've kind of lost that, though. We've lost that somewhere in our world, is how powerful belief and prayer. Now, I was reading something the other day on belief. You know, what do you believe? And then are you going to pray on it? You got to believe in yourself, number one, that I could do this, because it's the old, what did Henry Ford say? If you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. But also the power of prayer to give you the strength and power to do that. Working with athletes, when you worked with FCA, you know, that you're talking to young athletes, you know, how much did that come into play where you really stress that power of prayer?
Yeah. So if we're called to do something, right, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, and I know there are other theologians and other authors that would agree with me, but if we're called to do something, there's this central belief as a tenet of my Christian faith that I am called by God. And so if I'm called to do something, then God's equipped me with the gifts and talents to do it. And so now the power doesn't necessarily reside in my ability to force my way through things, but the power resides in my ability to steward those gifts and talents, right? So as an athlete, I'm training, I'm working out, I'm doing every diet and exercise, I'm doing everything that I need to do to maximize my impact in whatever that calling is. And it's the same with ministry, man. I'm constantly reading and educating myself and you know, learning about the world around me and helping the world understand how God fits into their cultural narratives, right? People and places and spaces. And so I think there's this stewardship that through prayer, you know, we're praying, God, give me the strength and the focus to continue to work and be a steward of your will in my life, you know. And so, you know, so many times that we think that it's all on our shoulders, and there is a part of it, right? There's a divine partnership that happens, but man, it's all about stewardship. You know, if you're called, man, you've got something within you that was created within you to get the job done.
I think of it this way. I think there's a three-part. There's the divine intervention,
Right.
there's the belief in yourself, and then there's the
That's right.
actions that you have to take along with it. Like you said, you're working out, your diet, you're working out,
That's
your
right.
training. If you just go, I believe I could be an NFL offensive lineman. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. But you never pick up a weight, or you never,
That's right.
or you eat bonbons and
That's right.
cupcakes all day long. And even
Right.
if you pray, nothing's going to happen. You
That's right.
probably not going to be in the NFL,
That's
right?
right. Right.
I think
Yeah.
there's a three-way combination we have to have. So in business, how do you make those? I love to use the word intersecting, the way
Mm-hmm.
they all intersect.
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach somebody with that? How do you coach
Yeah.
somebody to have those three intersections?
Yeah.
The
So through
belief, the action, and the
so through I Coach Character, when I did any character development inside and outside the church, it didn't matter. And I worked with a lot of leaders. I used a few mechanisms. I use strength finders. I use a personality trait mechanism. Some people would call it DISC. And so I would use the DISC profile, and I would combine those two. And there's some other mechanisms that I use to get a better picture of who people were. And so what I would do is I would work with a team. Let's say if I work with a football team, I would provide that coaching staff and the leaders within that team this roadmap to who and how every individual leader, not the athletes, but the leaders within a locker room or within an organization were equipped to contribute to the mission and the vision of that organization. And then from that, coaches sometimes, especially from an administrative side, and I know this overlaps into the business world, but we sometimes put people in a position. So like, let's say if you're on a football team and you have like a guy that played defensive back, right? In the NFL. And so you would assume that he would be a good defensive back coach. Well, maybe that's not true. Maybe he's a great receivers coach because he studied receivers so much that he can communicate, you know what I mean? And so it's really evaluating personalities, traits, and gifts, and then putting people in a position to win.
Yeah, see, that's it. And I love how the sports world equates and right over into the business world. The head coach, the leader, belief in putting people in the right place. That's and right. Making sure that you have the right guy. You're never going to be a defensive back.
That's right.
That ain't happening.
Right. That's right.
So, quick funny story. My daughters and I, we were at Costco years and years and years ago. My kids were little. They're all grown up now. And we run into Russell, Maryland. You probably know Russell.
I know Russell. Yeah.
Russell's a great guy. Love Russell.
Great guy.
And so we run out. His kids were he was still pushing one of his kids in the carriage. That's how long ago it was.
Come on, that's a long time ago.
That's a long time. So my daughters look at him and we get chat for a little bit. Hey man, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. I'll talk to him because I run into him here and there around town. And I said, girls, that's Russell Merrill. He played for the Cowboys. They understood football at that point. They go, and my oldest went, was he a safety, Daddy? No, I don't think so, honey. For those that know Russell Merrill, that was the world-class defensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys.
That's right.
Yeah. And I told him that one day afterwards. He fell out of his chair laughing.
Yeah, he probably loved it though.
He did. He does. Yep. And I still see him, a couple times a month. I run into him all the time. But it's...
Man, I don't... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go. What?
No, I was about to say, I don't know if people are being nice to me in that same aspect, but they always ask me, did you play football or basketball? You talk about my size. And I'm like, well, I was a football player. Professionally, yeah. And they always say, what did you play, tight end? And I'm like, wow, thank you. No, I was an offensive tackle. But I love it when people misposition me or whatever, man. I love that. I'm flattered. But I think they're lying to me most of the time. So
they're just trying to make you feel good. Yeah.
That's it.
That's great. Yeah. All right. I mentioned in your intro something. You've done a lot of things. We've been dancing around talking about the different things you do. You're NFL entrepreneur. You work at the FCA, but you also serve as a pastor in a large church right here in North Texas in ministry. So am I going to say something? You seem pretty busy, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance that family, ministry, entrepreneur? What do you find to balance that? Because we're all busy. What are some of your tricks, tips, hints? You get to balance that?
So as I extend myself into multiple, avenues of service, be it in the church, outside the church, in my family, I stay in my lane. And so if you look at I coach character, you look at my role as a husband and a father. Now I know that's a bit more dynamic, but and then you look at my role in ministry, it's all based around mentoring and discipleship, and I take that pretty serious. And so when you talk about being a father, a parent, and I, I feel like my job is to mentor and disciple my kids. And so that's the toughest mentorship. I've had a couple kids that out of our four that just were, prodigal, that rebellious kids have come back around and said that, hey, sorry for the way that we, treated you and what you were trying to give us. And we
Hmm.
want it now. But man, I just stay in my lane. So everything is done through this lens of my gifts and talents. I never get outside of my lane. And if there's an opportunity that seems like it's a good opportunity, but it's outside of my lane, that's where I set up a boundary and I say, no, it's not for me.
I was told years ago, pick
Hmm.
a lane. And I
Hmm.
love staying in the lane, but it was
Hmm.
first you have to pick it, of course. But it's Walter Bond.
Hmm.
He's a professional speaker, and he said, pick a lane, and then be really good at it. Stay where
That's
where
right.
you're where you're good. Number one, pick a lane that you're good at, that you can
Hmm.
drive in, so to speak. But really, just stay in it and stay in your lane and be great at that. And that's what
That's
I
right.
love. You say, stay in your lane so you're not really getting distracted. So for entrepreneurs or some of our business owners that may be listening, they find your lane and
Hmm.
stay in that lane. I think that's what I'm hearing. And it
Yeah,
it equates back to business, goes to ministry, entrepreneur, family, all those things is find your lane in each one of those areas and then stay in it.
that's right. Even if we step out and we volunteer our time, like every organization has multiple, moving pieces and parts. And so there's always space, for, let's say if you're a financial guy and you're an accountant or you have a financial service and finances are your background and a human trafficking organization says, hey, we want you to be on our board. Well, hey, do you have any opportunities for me to serve your board through my financial gifts and talents?
Sure.
Yeah, we do. So that's a hard yes. But if not, it may be a great opportunity. They may love you as a personality, and you may agree with their mission and their vision. But if they don't have space for you to exercise, your gifts and talents, stand in your lane, man, sometimes it might be a hard no, just for capacity. Just for capacity.
Knowing it, I love the capacity, staying,
Hmm.
knowing your capacity, what you have to
Hmm.
give, and only giving to that level. Because we
That's
do
right.
that all the time. I mean, think about the world today. We are overrun with so much stuff. We're being asked to do more with less. I mean, we're still
Yeah.
in the battle of with COVID right now as we sit here and we talk.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Dynamics have changed. We're doing Zoom calls now instead of in-person calls. We're
That's right.
we're having to do different things, but still maintain our lifestyles, maintain who we
Hmm.
are, our business, whether it's a business. And I think everybody's been affected by COVID at some way, shape, or form. I can't say you haven't been. So
Right.
keeping that and not trying to do too much. I mean, I do a lot of different things as well. From the podcast, our podcast we're doing today,
Hmm.
to my coaching, to my leadership academy program, but
Hmm.
really staying in your lane and not stepping outside too much what you God intended you to be,
That's right.
and
That's right.
understanding that. So as you begin to do that, there's another piece is understanding how do you spend some time under really finding out where your lane is. What are your
Hmm.
suggestions there? How could I
Yeah.
find out what my lane is and then so I can stay in it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all about encouraging um, any individual that I mentor or disciple to do a deep dive and take a season of self reflection. Again, I think we all, if we took the time to evaluate our lives and we went back and we looked even through, the education process and our, if we've had time in the marketplace, we will begin to see things that that I think our hearts are drawn to, right? And there's a natural inclination to lean into those, and even like an excitement or a passion. And so I would say take time to figure out what those things are that you're passionate about. And then once you figure those things out, then you go out into the world and you find opportunities to express those passions, express those desires in the marketplace, and in a business, and volunteering. Just as you engage the world, man, find places and spaces to express your passion, because I know this about you, man. You always have a lot of energy. I've watched some of your video clips on your leadership, the symposiums that you host, and man, you love what you do. That's one thing that people can't say about Coach Rick, is that he loves what he does, right? Nobody would deny that. And I think we all, I think we all need to find that thing that we love to do that gets us out of bed. It doesn't mean it's always going to be easy. Well, we're not going to like it every day.
Oh, heck no.
Right. But when you love it, you're committed to it. Right.
That's right. And in the book, my second book I wrote, Roll Up Your Sleeves and Get to Work, there's a piece of that is find your passion and make it your purpose.
Yeah.
And when you find your passion, you'll see your purpose. That's more than anything else. Right. You'll know why God put you here, what the purpose is for you being here. And whether you know it or you don't, it still is what it is.
That's right.
You've been given a purpose by God to be and do something. So be passionate about it. And you're right. I love what I do. I'm just I'm so blessed to be able to work with the individuals that I work with, the young leaders that I'm helping develop. And it's fun. I mean, that's one of my core values is fun. Yeah. So making it fun is, and I always say, if it stops being fun, I'm going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Amen. That's right.
And that's it. If you don't have fun with it, why do it? Go do something you're going to enjoy.
I mean, the reality is we can monetize anything. And so, like, I don't chase dollars, man. I chase, like you said, those things that I'm passionate about. And to be honest with you, those things that are fun. And I know we can loosely throw around the word fun, but I really do. I chase the things that I have fun. And that means, there may be moments where they're hard and like they hurt.
Sure.
But man, you can still, I mean, who better to understand that than an offensive lineman? I remember, banging heads, knees, and body hurting, but still, I love every snap of football that I played.
You're right. You love getting in there and banging around and hitting all the time. Although I will tell you one, my freshman year, I got my first start as a freshman, right tackle, 215 pounds, not very big.
No, not big at all.
Penn State B team. We played their B team. Ooh. He was your size, 6'7", 275, 300 pounds. He beat me like a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
He just whipped me like a rag doll whole game.
Man, I'm telling you what, the jump from high school to college is the biggest transition in any, football athlete will go to. When I remember stepping on the field for our first padded practice at Kansas State, and brother, I felt like I was in the middle of a NASCAR track. Like I was trying to cross the NASCAR track. Like people were flying by me, and every once in a while I would just get hit and knocked on my tail, and it was horrible. I mean, horrible. That was not fun. That was probably the least amount of fun.
Did you ever get some really bad advice from someone on the football field that you took and you went, man, I should not have listened to that?
You know what, man? I'll be honest with you. I was blessed to be around some great leaders, and they just taught me my rookie year with the Jets. They taught me how to be a professional and how to conduct myself both on and off the field, how to prepare for games, man. And I can only attribute that to the fact that I played for Bill Parcells. And so he had a locker room full of guys that reflected his style of leadership. But man, I'll be honest with you, Coach Rick, man, I was blessed to have some great people around me.
I got to give you, I got one piece of bad advice going from high school to college.
Yeah. What was that?
Well, one of the guys who played, I played a little school in Dover, Delaware, Wesley College. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys from our area who played there a year before, they were 10-0, number 2 in the nation, JC ball, right? He says, first thing you do, they love watching you fight. The coaches, they love watching you get into it. So he says, pick the biggest guy you can and just take him out.
That's bad advice.
That was bad advice.
That was bad advice. No.
So I went after the middle linebacker. His name was Clyde Folsom.
Oh my Lord.
Just the name scares me.
Yeah, that's a
Clyde
football name.
Folsom. And
Yeah,
I went
Clyde.
after him. And I'll tell you this, I ended up on my back looking out my ear hole while he was banging
Yeah.
my head on the ground like this.
Somebody told me that I'm telling you the best advice is somebody said, when you go into that locker room, you find the biggest guy in the locker room. And this is in the NFL. You find the biggest guy in the locker room and you buy him breakfast. And so
Yeah.
I went into the locker room, found the biggest guy. I bought him breakfast. And man, you earn credibility, street cred through, just humbling yourself, right?
Yeah. I ran nightclubs for years. That's kind of, well, I left college and started, I bought nightclubs and ran them. So my idea was anytime I would go into a bar someplace and I'd go in and I'd buy the biggest guy a drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anything broke out, he was already my
He's
friend.
on my side. That's right.
He got my back.
That's right. That's right. That's good.
I'm ugly, but I ain't dumb.
Yeah, that's right, man. Hey, listen, we can mentally, force our way through life, right? We can work our way through lives just as we can physically. So, man, I love working through the mental aspects of life.
That's it. Mindset. I love that.
Yeah.
So how do you keep a positive mindset in COVID, in ministry? I'm probably pretty sure that you hear some of the bad stuff. People come to you for advice and you're going, wow, that was really not a good situation. How do you keep a positive mindset for yourself?
Man, if you don't mind, I'm going to get raw and real with you. It is hard. It's hard, especially 2020 has been difficult from a mental health point of view. And so I do my job. I serve as the minister of evangelism. And so I work with a lot of people who don't know the Christian faith and don't know God. And so, we're talking addicts, people going through divorce, just some tragic things. And all that stuff is happening in the church as well. People who profess to know God. And so I work in a lot of people's mess. And I love working in their mess because I'm just designed that way to speak into it, speak truth, but speak love. And so I really have had, and this has been going on since I've been in ministry, but this year I've really had to guard my heart. And so I make sure that I exercise. I try to maintain a healthy diet. And I also see a counselor. I just saw my counselor yesterday and he, for marriage and ministry. And he just always blesses me and helps me get perspective on the things that I'm dealing with and trying to process. And so, man, I'm really intentional about stewarding my mental health.
That's so interesting. It's the same concept that I like to say is, as a business coach, do you have a business coach? Well, yeah, I have my own coach. So I keep telling you the importance of having me as your coach. Here, hire me as your coach, do this. And somebody looked at me and says, do you have a coach? And I would be incongruent and disingenuous if I said, I don't need a coach. I'm good. No, I have a coach. I actually have two. And that I use that like you to bounce ideas off. Counselor, same concept. They're absolutely right. I love that. So,
that's right.
All right. So while we're here, anything you want to promote, new biz, venture, shout out for anybody that you want to, as we're getting close in time here. I want to make sure I be respectful of your time. Anything you want to promote, talk about?
Well, no, I will, part of that taking care, stewarding my body, man. I think you introduced me to DDPY yoga.
Yeah.
DDPY and Diamond Dallas Page, man. And I think that quote, he says it in some of his workouts. I forget who you gave credit to that quote for, but if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. And I love that. I love that when he inspires during the workout. But just want to thank you for introducing me to that system because it has just been so helpful as a part of my personal stewardship. And if there's anything I can leave any of your listeners with is, man, how are you stewarding your mind, body, and spirit? And I would open it up to this, that if anybody wants to reach out to me and talk about, the spiritual component, I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas. And if any of your listeners want to ever talk about that, man, I am more than happy to do this virtually with them, have them email me, meet them for coffee if they're in the Metroplex and close, or a meal, and really talk about the stewardship of their spiritual health, and it goes deeper than just trying to convert somebody to the Christian faith. It's really addressing the innate and organic need for us as human beings to connect to something outside of ourselves. I believe that spiritual connection should be done through Jesus Christ, right? And the God of the Christian faith. But would love to just talk about, how any of you guys are stewarding your spiritual capacity.
All right. So how do they get a hold of you? What's a good email, number,
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah. So it's ryan.young@thehills.org would be the easiest way. Just email me. I'm always, checking my emails, but would love to connect. If anybody wants to email me and reach out and have a conversation, that'd be awesome.
Excellent. For those that are listening, it's ryan.young@thehills.org. And if you're watching, you see it right below. We'll have it streamed down below there so you can capture that. Give Ryan a holler. So, Ryan, I got one last thing for you. A couple last things, though. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you the bald truth questions. This is the real deal here.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
going to peel you back a little bit. So
Let's do it.
Here you go. You're holding a dinner party for 6 people, yourself included. So dinner party for 5 plus you is 6. You can invite anybody that you want in all of history, alive or dead.
Okay.
Who do you invite? What 5 people do you invite?
So, all right, not to be cheesy or hyper spiritual, but man, I got to put the person of Jesus Christ. I got to put Jesus Christ in that thing, right? I would invite, I would say Michael Jordan, but I feel like we got some insight. But I think I would invite Michael Jordan and just really ask some hard questions, right? Kind of put him in a corner and just ask him some tough questions. Man, I would love to invite. I'm trying to think through the presidents, man, but I would invite in my lifetime Reagan, Obama, and maybe even Bush, George Bush, and Obama, and really get some insight into politics from 2 of the most prominent sides of the political spectrum. And then, man, I love to invite, and this again, Dr. King and Dr. Martin Luther King, of course. And this one may be weird, but man, I'd invite Hitler, and not from a just to be morbid, but like, man, want to really dig into like his childhood and how he came about to be the person that he was, right? Getting insight. I'm always intrigued by people that do, just tragic things in our world. And I think it gives us a better glimpse into the humanity, right? And man, I would just want to dig into that, man, and just see what was going on in your childhood, man. What happened?
What goes on
your
in
parents
that head?
like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, an article's being written about you after your pass. We all have an expiration date, right? We know that. So after you're gone, an article's being written about you after you're gone. What's the title? Not the body, but what's the title or the headline?
Yeah. A man who of ideals, a man of ideals, man. I'm always thinking like, how can we stretch the box, right? Theologically, how can we stretch the world, man? I just like challenging things, man. I don't know why. I like asking questions, weird questions. I like to think outside the box. I hate being stuffed in a box. So the man of ideals would be perfect.
I love
for
it.
me.
Good stuff. And finally, what do you do each morning to set yourself up for success? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you tell it.
Man, just really pray and submit the day to God, and just remind myself and grateful for life, man, that I'm not in control. And Lord, whatever your daily portion is for me today, man, give me that, nothing more, nothing less. And man, let's rock this thing out. Let me reflect your glory in the world.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for being a guest today, being on the Bald Truth and spending time with us. We know how people can get a hold of you. Ryan.young@thehills.org. He's a pastor. If you want to talk to him, he's happy to talk to you. I know I love having this conversation, and we're going to continue these conversations, I'm pretty sure, as well. So thanks for being on, Ryan.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
You got it. Hey, you've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations maximize their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your business, either sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches, we can help you grow with our proven business acceleration system. Call us at 817-748-7425 or find us on the World Wide Web at mypotentialplus.com, and we'll connect you with the right coach for you. Remember, subscribe, like. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube video. Hit the like and subscribe to get every single episode. Folks, it's been a good day with Ryan. It's been a good day here in Texas. I'm Coach Rick, and that's the bald truth.